Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Train Station. As always, I am your host, A Train, and we're going to go over the Lions draft today and what they did. Many people seem to think that they reached a bit, and we'll see my opinions here in just a moment. So, the NFL draft happened over the past weekend, and it's always a favorite time as a Lions fan because this is basically our Super Bowl. We never do anything with it, but every single year we always look towards the draft. I don't know why, but we always look towards the draft. So, this season, we had the number 6 pick from the Los Angeles Rams. We also had pick 18. We ended up trading that first pick at 6 to Arizona to move back a couple of spots and pick up some additional picks in the draft. I think what happened though is Jahmyr Gibbs was not the first player on our board. The first player on the Lions board was Devin Witherspoon, who unfortunately went number 5 to the Seattle Seahawks, which kind of messed with the Lions, which is why I think they traded down. Jahmyr Gibbs at the time didn't really make a whole lot of sense, because they had just signed Montgomery and they had DeAndre Swift. Jahmyr Gibbs was the pick, and then DeAndre Swift gets shipped off. Jahmyr Gibbs, a very explosive player. I wasn't too happy at first, but very explosive player, and Alvin Kamara type running back. Also can line up in the slot and at receiver, especially with Jameson Williams missing the first 6 games. I think it'll be a huge pickup for those first 6 games, and now you can tell they really want to run the ball, and having him and Montgomery really run the ball will do a lot for this offense going forward. I definitely thought the pick should have been defense, but they know what they're doing. I don't. The next pick, Jack Campbell, middle linebacker. A lot of people said this was too early, but if you guys remember in my mock draft, I had him going just a few picks later to the Cowboys, so I don't think this was too early for Jack Campbell. Definite need at linebacker. The Lions linebackers are absolutely horrendous. I think he's a much better player than Alex Anzalone, so getting him at 18 is great. Definitely going to be in the middle of that defense for years and years to come. Very instinctive player, very athletic linebacker. And usually if you get a linebacker from Iowa, you get a linebacker from Wisconsin, you get a linebacker from Alabama, usually they tend to work out. Same thing goes with their second round pick and Sam Laporta, who somehow was the second tight end taken on the board. Many people found that as a surprise. They had just lost TJ Hockenson. They traded him last season. So this is the TJ Hockenson replacement. Definitely needed a tight end. And they stayed consistent with the first 3 picks. They go Alabama, Iowa, and then Brian Branch at 45 is Alabama. So they stayed consistent. Sam Laporta will help just be another weapon for Jared Goff. He's also really good in the blocking game. And like I said about linebackers, if they're from Wisconsin, Iowa, Alabama, usually if a tight end is from there, they're pretty good, and they're pretty much a surefire hit. So they get another dude from Iowa to help shore up that offense. Brian Branch at 45, I think it might have been the steal of the draft. I know they wanted Witherspoon at 5, but because Seattle took Witherspoon at 5, it forced us to advance. If you guys remember a lot of my mock drafts, I had Brian Branch going to Jacksonville in round 1. So the fact that he's still here at 45 is very, very impressive. Can immediately fill the slot corner position. He can play safety. He can do all sorts of things on that defense. Very athletic, very versatile to play multiple positions. And that's, like I said, another Alabama guy. So 2 Alabama guys, 2 Iowa guys, first 4 picks. It's looking very, very consistent. Probably my favorite pick of the draft for the Lions is at round 3, pick 68. Former Virginia Tech / Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker. Arguably in my opinion, the third best quarterback in this draft after C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. Many people will say Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. My opinion on those two is Anthony Richardson will be a giant bust, and Will Levis just is not good. He couldn't beat out Sean Clifford at Penn State, and Sean Clifford is horrible. Hendon Hooker goes to Lions at 68. Needed a backup quarterback. Finally have a competent backup quarterback. Doesn't need to play right away because they have Goff. But if the Lions decide to move on from Goff after this season, you have a very experienced guy who's coming into his rookie year at 25. Very experienced player at 25 years of age. Doesn't have to play right away. Coming off an ACL, so definitely won't be playing right away. But a very good backup. This season was probably his best season as a collegiate player. And he really shined. He had Tennessee number 1 for a long time. They led that historic upset over Alabama. Very, very happy with this selection. Arguably the third best quarterback in the draft. Again, in the third round at pick 68. The Lions then traded up to this pick at number 96. And got the big boy, Broderick Martin, the defensive tackle out of Western Kentucky. I don't know too much about him, but I just know that he is a defensive tackle. They re-signed Isaiah Buggs, and they didn't want Isaiah Buggs playing as many snaps. So Isaiah Buggs will switch to a 3 technique, which will allow Broderick Martin to kind of be more of probably a first and second down guy. And that probably spells the end for Levi Okuar, whatever his name is. Levi O. Probably spells the end for him. But Broderick Martin is a big boy from Western Kentucky. Definitely needed for that front seven. Him and Jack Campbell going together. Very, very good. This next pick, offensive lineman Colby Sorsadal from William and Mary. I'm going to be honest, I have absolutely no idea who this guy is. I think he's like a redneck cowboy, I think is what they were showing in the videos. I don't know much about him. I just know he's some offensive line depth for arguably one of the strongest offensive lines in the entire NFL. And the 7th pick, we moved up 30 spots after trading DeAndre Swift. Also picked up a 2025 fourth rounder. Antonio Green is a receiver. Probably won't make the team, but we'll have to see. Maybe he could be a help while Jameson Williams is out. But he led the ACC in multiple categories. Big-bodied receiver. And that is the Lions draft class. Overall, I think it's a nice haul. As you could see here, if I move myself, Pro Football Focus gave us a C+. I do not agree. I think the Jahmyr Gibbs pick, I wasn't a fan of it at first, but I think that'll prove to be very, very valuable. Jack Campbell was my favorite linebacker in this draft. Sam Laporta, top 5 tight end. Brian Branch, best safety in the class. Not sure how he dropped that far. Fantastic. Hendon Hooker, like I said, arguably the 3rd best quarterback in the draft. I like that too. Broderick Martin, big body, another, and then depth at the last 2 picks. Some guys I'm surprised they didn't draft. I was really hoping that we could land Andre Carter II from Army, an edge rusher / linebacker. He ends up in Minnesota on a UDFA deal. I was hoping if we didn't get Jahmyr Gibbs, Sean Tucker would be on the list of running backs to potentially get. And then undrafted free agents, guys who I think will make the team. Mohamed Ibrahim, the running back from Minnesota, signed a deal with the Lions in undrafted free agency, and he got like 150 guaranteed or something like that. I think he makes the team and becomes like a big third down or goal line kind of back, as neither Gibbs or Montgomery are that. And I think you can have Mohamed Ibrahim step up into that position in that role. And when Mohamed Ibrahim is healthy, he was arguably the best running back in the Big Ten. So C+ I think is wild, especially when you consider Brian Branch the best safety in the draft, Jack Campbell the best linebacker in the draft, Jahmyr Gibbs the 2nd best running back in the draft. I just don't see, and maybe it's because of where they were picked, of why Pro Football Focus and all those guys thought that this is why they had a C plus. But if you look at just the talent point alone, I don't think it's C plus. I think it's more of a B plus, B minus, or B plus A minus range, just because of who they picked and where they selected them. Hendon Hooker, fantastic. Brian Branch, best safety. Jack Campbell, best linebacker. Jahmyr Gibbs, second best running back. Like, with the positional value that they got, and yeah, it may not be as important as some other positions, but when you look at the players that they got, and maybe, and if it's all about positioning of where they picked, all right, picture the first round. Okay, Brian Branch goes 12, Jack Campbell goes 18, Jahmyr Gibbs goes 45, and Sam Laporta goes 34. If you switch it around, it looks like a much better draft. It's just because of where they were drafted. I like this Lions draft a lot, especially those first 5 picks of Hendon Hooker up. I really like those picks. I think those elevate the Lions. You have 3 day 1 starters. Actually, you have 4 day 1 starters. Gibbs will start, Campbell will start, Laporta will start, and Brian Branch will start. So you have 4 day 1 starters on this team, and you say it's a C plus. I don't agree with that. I think it's in the B plus A minus range. Not many teams went into this draft and walked out with 4 day 1 starters like the Lions did. I really like that from the Lions. And we'll just have to see how they are with the Packers rebuilding, the Bears rebuilding, and the Vikings on their way to a rebuild. It's the Lions' division to lose. And one of my favorite drafts the Lions have done in a long time. I usually don't get too excited with things that they do, but I'm very excited for this one. And that's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my rant a little bit. I'll be back either this week with some more NFL draft. Maybe I'll do the rest of the NFL. But I just wanted to get the Lions one out of the way and say people are crazy to think that this was a bad draft when they walk away with 4 starters. I'm not sure what my next video will be, but I'll catch you guys this weekend with more content. Peace.